Well, good afternoon. Over the weekend, after months of patience and sacrifice, thousands of small businesses across the province reopened their doors. Our small businesses have stepped up in a really big way. For months, they put everything on hold. They put their community before themselves. They did what they needed to do to protect Ontarians. And because of them, because of their efforts, we're beating this virus. Everyone's efforts are paying off. We're seeing it in the numbers again today. While our testing continues to be at an all-time high, the numbers of new cases was the lowest it's been in nearly 3 months. And for the 8th day in over a week, reported cases in Ontario are below 200. Ontario is heading in the right direction because everyone is doing their part. We're seeing the trends go the right way. We're hitting our markers. We're taking a cautious approach, and this is helping Ontario move forward. Because of the progress we've made so far, I'm able to announce today that more of Ontario will be joining Stage 2 this Wednesday. As of June the 24th at 12:01 a.m., the City of Toronto and the Peel region will be allowed to enter Stage 2. We will continue to work closely with our municipal partners and our local public health units to ensure every part of Ontario can enter Stage 2 safely. We're watching the public health trends carefully. We're consulting daily with our Chief Medical Officer of Health and the command table for the best available medical advice. No one wants to see every region of Ontario open more than I do, but we have to do it right. And unfortunately, right now, the threat of this virus in Windsor-Essex is still too great. While we've seen the trends improve in Toronto and Peel, we haven't yet seen those targets met in Windsor. But I want to reassure the people of Windsor-Essex today that our government is doing everything in our power to make sure your region can reopen as quickly as possible. We've already taken a number of steps, including enhancing and expanding our testing strategy. On Saturday, we began proactive testing on farms, starting with sending our mobile testing units to the largest farms, including many in Windsor-Essex. We're also conducting the same proactive testing at many of our food processing plants. Minister Elliott and Minister McNaughton will share more details in a moment, but we're bringing in the federal supports where we can. Together with the federal government, we're investing $15 million in an enhanced agri-food workplace program. This program is helping farmers purchase PPE for workers, increasing safety measures such as installing physical barriers, modifying housing for workers, and increasing isolation capacity. We've also set up a PPE directory to help our farmers source the masks and gloves they need. We're doing everything we can to help our farmers protect their workers and ensure the safety of our food supply chain. And I will continue to have a conversation with the Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister on more supports for our farmers to help them get through this challenging time. I want our farmers and their workers to know that I will always have their backs. Thank you, and God bless the people of Ontario. Now I'll pass it over to Minister Elliott.
Thank you, Premier, and good afternoon, everyone. Together, we're making real and significant progress in stopping the spread of COVID-19. For 8 of the past 9 days, at a time when testing remains at all-time highs, Ontario reported fewer than 200 new cases of COVID-19. In fact, each day a clear majority of public health units report fewer than 5 cases, with many of them reporting no new cases at all. Because of the considerable efforts to identify and quickly contain new cases, and in consultation with local medical officers of health, we are confident that Toronto and Peel have met the public health criteria to join the 31 regions in Stage 2 effective this Wednesday. That includes a sustained decrease in the number of daily new cases, ongoing hospital capacity, and public health capacity to conduct rapid case and contact management. As these 2 regions move forward, we are redoubling our efforts to contain workplace outbreaks in Windsor-Essex, including through enhanced on-site testing in farms across the region. These efforts are well underway with more progress made over the weekend. I would like to thank the local medical officer of health and public health officials for their considerable efforts amidst a challenging situation. We are here to support you. Together, we will stop the spread of this virus in your community. As we continue to safely and gradually reopen our province, it's never been more important for each of us to practice physical distancing with anyone outside of our social circle and wear face coverings. Together, we're moving another step forward and doing it in a way that maintains our first priority, the health and well-being of all Ontarians. Thank you. And now I'll turn things over to Minister McNaughton.
Well, thank you very much, Minister Elliott, and good afternoon, everyone. It is important that every business, every worker, everyone in the province knows that when it comes to the safety of workplaces, we have you covered. Hundreds of thousands of employers have visited our webpage, ontario.ca/COVID safety, to get the important workplace safety information they need. COVID-19 has changed the way people work and interact with each other, both on and off the farm. Today, we are stepping up our efforts to work with the agricultural community to help them adjust to the new realities. Where temporary foreign workers are working and living very closely together, the consequences are serious. That's why today I'm announcing we are collaborating with federal inspectors and local health officials to begin joint farm inspections. These are in addition to the more than 230 inspections we have already performed on farms. In the 8 separate guidance documents, posters, and webinars we have posted to help farmers keep their workers safe. These new inspections will review the working and living conditions of temporary foreign workers. They will begin this week. This is significant progress. The federal government has jurisdiction over the temporary foreign worker programs and are responsible for conducting inspections of the living quarters for those workers. We will continue to work together on these important issues. Because when it comes to public health and safety in the workplace, we all have a role to play: government, business, and labor. I'll now turn it over to Minister Phillips.
Thank you, Minister McNaughton. When we laid out the framework to reopen our province back in April, we knew the job would be complex. Because while it's one thing to reopen the economy, it's another thing for employees to feel confident to return to work and customers to feel confident that they can safely visit a local business. From keeping services like transit and childcare safe to assuring people we're ready for COVID-19 spikes, a lot contributes to creating confidence. We are monitoring many factors and acting to ensure that the people's confidence is well placed. I've always said that trust is the most important factor in this work. Last week, I had the opportunity to visit some businesses in our communities that have already moved into stage 2. I was very reassured to see how seriously they are taking the public health guidance and how they're innovating to keep people safe as they reopen for business. Wearing and providing PPE as appropriate, practicing physical distancing, and using sign-in sheets to help with contact tracing. When we see people acting responsibly, following the public health advice, and when we see businesses acting responsibly, adopting our workplace safety guidance, trust in each other is built so that we can all be confident going back to work or visiting our favorite local business. That's what it means to say we are all in this together. And thanks to the ongoing commitment of the people of Ontario, we are making great progress. We'll have more details to share on stage 3 soon. But as I said last week, our goal isn't simply to reopen the economy. It's to reopen in a position of strength. And we will ensure that stage 3 gets our businesses up and running so that more people can get back to work. Recovery from COVID-19 does not just mean stopping the spread. It also means setting Ontario up to create jobs, prosperity, and growth well into the future. So once again, thank you to everyone for doing their part. We're all looking forward to the next step. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to the phone line for questions. First question. Your first question comes from Christy Lee Varley with AM 800. Please go ahead.
Hi, Crystal.
Hi, Premier. In Windsor-Essex today, we had 32 additional cases of COVID-19 reported, and 31 of the 32 cases were workers in the agri-farm sector. So, I mean, without those cases, our entire region would have only had one additional case today. And there are calls down here for the province to consider a regional approach specifically for Windsor-Essex and allow the areas without temporary foreign workers to open. Is that something your government would consider?
Well, you know, I always say everything's on the table, but what we really need to do, it's very clear. And I got to emphasize, there's no secret. I love the farmers, but guys, you got to help us here. You know, we're sending in units. I'm going to just tell it the way it is. Farmers just aren't cooperating. They aren't sending out the people to get tested. You know, we got to bang our heads off the wall and figure out why. It's good for the farmers, good for your workers, good for the food supply chain on safety. They're phenomenal people down there, great farmers. I've met a tremendous amount of them. And guys, until you cooperate, and we can't force anyone to get testing. And I guess when my plea was happening last week too, you know, it was just kind of brushed off like, oh, well, okay, not a problem. You're affecting the largest region. And it's not fair to the people of Windsor. It's not fair to other people doing what you're doing to people. It's not fair for the region, the businesses, you know, by not getting the workers tested. It's very simple. We'll send in the resources. We have the resources, the mobile units, but you can't force someone to get tested. But you know, we'll give it another shot. We're going to continue trying. We won't give up. But then we're going to have to pull out other tools. And you know, every time I plea with things to get done, then I'll go to the extreme. Whatever tool I have to protect the people of Windsor, and the food supply chain, and the farmers, and the workers, I'll start pulling out every tool I have at my disposal to make sure this gets done. It's just not fair what you're doing right now. Simple as that. Cooperate. We'll bend over backwards to help you. We're giving you $15 million for PPE. We'll do whatever it takes to help you. Like I'm begging here for your support, for the people of Windsor and Essex. What more do you want me to do? It's frustrating to say the least. Sorry for going on, but man, everyone else is cooperating in the whole province. We have the lowest numbers in North America because everyone is cooperating. Please cooperate.
Follow-up?
Yes, thank you, Premier. The president and CEO of our hospital organization here has said that hospitals in this region are, quote, going out of their lane, you know, trying their hardest to get people tested. In discussions with our hospital organizations, is there any worry that they will be stretching themselves too thin by they themselves being the ones to try and get this testing done?
I'll pass this over to the Minister of Health.
Well, it's absolutely true that hospitals have gone above and beyond what their normal call of duty would be in this situation, that they have set up an assessment center that was outside in Leamington, that unfortunately people were not showing up. So that's why we need to take another look at it. That's why we are asking farmers to allow the mobile assessment centers to come onto their property, to allow them to do the testing with the workers that are there. No one will be forced to be tested, of course. However, if the assessment center is there and if they have people who can speak Spanish and are able to explain it to people, I'm very confident that people will come forward willingly. But you're absolutely right. The hospitals have been huge partners in all of this, and I know they will continue to be.
Next question.
Your next question comes from Mike Crawley with CBC News. Please go ahead.
Hi, Premier.
Hi, Mike.
Just a little further on the Windsor issue. How fair is it to the people of the rest of Windsor, given that the infections seem to be so concentrated among the agricultural workers? How fair is it really to stop Windsor from moving forward into stage 2, given that particular situation?
Mike, as I said before, it's totally unfair, and the people from Windsor-Essex, I'm sorry. We got to get your neighbors, farmers, and everyone. I can't emphasize enough. I'd break down a brick wall for farmers. They're the hardest working people I know. but this is not working out. Like, we have to come up with a solution, and it's not fair to all the people outside, outside of the farming community. Just cooperate, and we can get through this. We'll do whatever we can to protect you, protect the workers, but it's not fair to the people of Windsor and Essex. I feel sorry for them. I really do. They want to get back to work, and there's 8,000 temporary workers that that are there. You have a group of 8,000, and the numbers. Mike, I looked at the graph this morning. Went down, dipped a little, and then the last couple of weeks it just shot right up. And like, what do you want us to do? My job is to protect everyone in Ontario. And if they go within the community and they start spreading it within the community, and the people in that community go to the next community and head up to Toronto and Peel, we're back into the same boat. Like, everyone is cooperating, so please cooperate. That's all I'm asking.
Follow up.
On another topic, Premier, an incident that came to light this weekend involving a police officer in Halton. He's been suspended with pay after this video showed him in an altercation with a young man. And Halton's chief is concerned about the fact that they have limited powers in suspending officers without pay, that they pretty much have to suspend officers with pay. This is obviously a provincial responsibility, that legislation on the suspension of officers under the Police Services Act. Are you willing to look at any changes to that situation to give chiefs more authority to suspend officers without pay?
Well, I'd like to sit down with the police association. I want to sit down with all the chiefs and get their input. They're the experts, and I want their input, and if we can get their input, then we can review that. But by all means, if we're hearing it from the chiefs across the region and the police association, we can come to a conclusion, then by all means.
Next question.
Your next question comes from Travis Damaraj with Global News. Please go ahead.
Hi, the Premier. Happy Monday.
Hi, Travis.
I just have a question, kind of related to what Mike was asking at the end there. But when it comes to police, the SIU right now are investigating the death of a 62-year-old man who was shot by Peel Region Officer in Mississauga on Saturday evening. I don't want you to comment on the specific case, but there are a lot of people that are concerned about the SIU, that don't have confidence in the SIU. What would you tell them, and do you have confidence in Ontario Special Investigations Unit?
Well, I do. They're a pretty tough unit, and they're going to look into this. And first of all, I want to say, no matter what happened, because none of us know the exact details until the SIU goes in there and does their investigation. My heart and prayers go out to the family that lost a loved one, no matter what happened. Right? This is a terrible situation, unfortunate, but let's see what the report says, because I just don't believe in pointing fingers at any group, any organization, until we get the details, because the details will tell the story.
Follow up.
And on another topic, when it comes to some of these restrictions being eased, this weekend we saw, pictures at Cherry Beach where there was a huge party going on. We've seen this before at Trinity Bellwoods. Do you think the City of Toronto in particular needs to ramp up enforcement? And what do you think needs to be done in order to curb some of this behavior that we continue to see repeated in Toronto specifically?
Well, you look at the pictures, it looked like South Beach, Florida. And you see what happened down in Florida. There's 4,000 cases in one day the other day. Folks, I get it. You want to get out, hot day, there's a beach. We got to maybe come up with better protocols. I'll talk to the mayor about it, and he's working his back off, by the way, and we need to get bylaw officers out there if everyone's clumped together. But yeah, you're right. It looked like the park, another situation with the park. But again, everyone has to practice social distancing. This fight's not over. We're winning the fight, but it's not over by any means. It could turn and bite us in the backside in about a heartbeat. So we got to continue washing your hands, social distancing, and practice, staying within your social groups that the chief medical officer has mentioned before. So we just ask people, don't go in there because I was shocked when I saw it.
Next question.
Your next question comes from Haley Cooper with News Talk 1010. Please go ahead.
Hi, Haley.
Thank you. Hi, Premier. Yesterday, the former leader of the Ontario PCs, Tim Hudak, suggested that there are just loads of empty buildings across the province that could be used to ensure that every student is back in the classroom for traditional learning, not to mention the plethora of teachers and substitute teachers ready to teach. So has your government considered putting students in these empty buildings for class, and if not, why?
Well, similar to the regional opening that we're seeing here, we're empowering the school boards. Again, no one understands their own schools better than the people at the school boards. So we're waiting, and we're going to be working with them to put together a plan. We laid out a few items and the criteria, but our goal is to make sure the students get back into school safely. And you'll hear more about it over the next number of weeks. We've given the school boards till August the 4th to come up with a concrete plan, but every single day there's communications going back and forth between the ministry and the school boards, and we're gonna work with them. Our number one priority is to make sure we bring the kids back in a safe environment.
Thank you. And my follow-up question is for Minister Phillips.
Hello.
Thank you. Minister Phillips, the Financial Services Regulatory Authority says about 70% of vehicle insurance policyholders are receiving some form of relief. The average savings is about $150, but it also found that only 10 out of the 14 major insurance companies have provided rebates to customers. So you've said that you'll publicly name these companies for not supporting these customers, and we just wanted to know when you'll begin doing this, because inadequate rebates, some none at all, have been a problem through this entire pandemic.
Yeah, so thank you for the question. And just for those who didn't see the release last week, FSRA, who's the independent regulator, came out and showed that, as you mentioned, there had been savings for about 4.5 million Ontarians, and that the savings were just about $700 million. So that, I said, is a good start. But you're also right. What we need now is transparency. So FSRA has indicated that they are now going to be in a position to publish that information, and I think that's important. People need to know which insurance companies are stepping up and which are seeing the opportunity to help their customers now at this really important time, and which aren't. I can tell you, so we'll wait to have FSRA produce that information, and then we'll make it public so people know. I can tell you my constituents, the one company I've heard over and over again is Desjardins Insurance, where people have indicated to me, and this is just, this isn't from FSRA, this is just anecdotally hearing from people, but I think, I hear from people across the province, and that's a company I've heard again and again that hasn't provided the kind of support that we're seeing to people. All the insurance companies have to understand, people haven't been driving, there haven't been as many accidents, and this is a very difficult time for people in Ontario. And all the insurance companies need to take that seriously. And as you pointed out, we're going to make sure that through the independent regulator, we show Ontarians which insurance companies have been being fair and which have not. And I think that's an important step, because Ontarians deserve to know that.
Next question.
Your next question comes from Robert Benzie with the Toronto Star. Please go ahead.
Hi, Robert.
Hi, Premier. Hi. Premier, I wanted to ask you, now that, as of Wednesday, most of the province will be in stage 2, when will parts of Ontario be entering stage 3? Because certainly Northern Ontario, Ottawa, other places like that have been in stage 2 for a while now.
Yeah, no, I understand. This is actually a good news day. It really is. Robert, we have almost, 4.5 million people will be going back to work. Businesses will be opening up in Peel and Toronto, so it's a really good news story. But I'm going to pass this over to our Minister of Health, and we can pass it to the Finance and then Labour as well, so you'll get all the ministers' point of view on this.
Well, first, of course, we want to get Windsor-Essex into stage 2, but we are planning for stage 3. We have a Jobs and Recovery Committee that takes a look at that looks at what businesses can be safely entered into that stage. But we won't be ready to do that until we've been able to assess the health effects of people from stage 2, understanding if there's any concern areas that we need to be dealing with, whether we need to slow down a little bit, whether we need to maybe remove one or two things from stage 2. So we haven't done that analysis yet because it hasn't been long enough, but we want to make sure that we can do that level of analysis before we can then move to stage 3, where we can more fully open our economy. But it depends on a number of factors, including the number of new cases, the ability to manage things from a health perspective, hospital occupancy and so on, as well as the public health resources in each area to make sure that they are able to deal with any potential uptakes in cases.
Follow-up?
So just as Minister Elliott said, this is the framework we've been following since really the end of April. And quite consistently, I think she outlined the criteria that are so important, and we're monitoring all of those. What we said then, and what has been the case, I have to say, as we've rolled things out, is that there needs to be at least 2 to 4 weeks in between the transition. So there are communities like Ottawa, like London, like Kitchener-Waterloo that have now for a couple of weeks been in stage 2, and the kind of measurements that the minister talked about are being taken. The conversations are happening locally, but we, as I said in my comments earlier, our priority in stage 3 is to get businesses open, and not just open, but open in a way where customers will be able to enjoy both a safe experience, but also those businesses will be able to be viable. So we'll continue to monitor that, and as just pointing out that this is the framework that we laid out, that it's been working as planned because of the fabulous commitment that people of Ontario have shown in terms of support, because employers have been doing the right thing. And if we all just keep doing that, then we'll be able to see further opening in restaurants, the opening of some other businesses that haven't been able to be open till now, and just a further reopening, and that's going to be good for the economy and good for jobs.
Follow-up? Oh, sorry, Monty. Sorry.
Thanks, Rob. Just one thing to add. Thank you so much for that question. One of the things that we're going to continue to do from the Ministry of Labour, Training and Skills Development is to continue providing those guidelines for the safe reopening of those businesses and organizations getting to stage 3. So we'll be working with businesses and health and safety associations to issue more health and safety guidelines to ensure that workers and customers are protected as we begin looking at stage 3 across the province.
Okay, now follow-up.
Okay, Rob, we're ready.
Oh, hi. Thanks, Premier. So I guess one example of us getting back to normal is I'm going to ask you a political question now instead of asking you about COVID-19. Yesterday was the first anniversary of your last cabinet shuffle, which of course is a pretty big one, and certainly the polls suggest that your government's in better shape now than they were this time last year. I'm just wondering, I keep hearing rumblings that you're going to be shuffling your cabinet again. I'm just wondering, maybe you want to tip your hand today. When is that coming? When can we expect a shuffle?
Well, Rob, yourself, myself, and my 3 ministers behind us, we've all been in politics for God knows how long. I think been dibbling and dabbling for 30 years, and I always say, and I hear it on the street too, when I talk to people, no matter what sector they're in or what business. I am so blessed. I have the best, most talented cabinet and caucus, because I always say, our cabinet's great, but I have 20 caucus members that could jump into cabinet in a heartbeat and be just as good. So I'm so fortunate, and I'm grateful. I want to thank our caucus and cabinet. They're doing an outstanding job. They're working their backs off, and I just love our team. They're incredible, each and every one of them, in their own way. So, but thank you for that.
Okay, last question.
Your final question comes from Colin DeMello with CTV News. Please go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, Premier. I'm just going to pick up where Mr. Bentley left off. So is there a cabinet shuffle coming?
We have the best cabinet going and the best caucus, and if that time comes, you'll be the first to know. I'll give you a call and tell you. But right now, we have a great cabinet and a great caucus.
All right, I will have my phone at the ready. Premier, I have a question about education. You're going to be asking parents to be taking on an extraordinary amount of work in the few weeks and months in September. Essentially, they would have to be staying at home and performing 2 jobs over the next few months. How are you going to make this easier for parents? Is there monetary support? Is there a tax break coming for the parents who will effectively be teachers at home as well?
Well, we gave a pretty large tax break for childcare, and I know we're going to continue doing that. But let's just see what the plan is rolling out. We want to make sure that we empower the school boards rather than coming up with one size fits all in a large jurisdiction like Ontario. It's only fair to the students and the parents in certain jurisdictions and the school boards to come up with the guidelines. We've set some criteria, but we want to work with the school boards. I just don't believe in just throwing one plan at all the schools and saying you're forced to do it. I want it to be their idea with the support of the province and the support of all the teachers too. So I think we will all work together. We're going to come up with the right plan. And we've been doing that all along through COVID and making sure we work collaboratively with other groups and other levels of government. That's the only way you can get things done.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.